Hours after Israel launched one of the most aggressive airstrikes on strategic sites in Iran, the world wondered how Tehran would respond. It did not take long to get its answer. That night, Israel's air defense systems were forced to work beyond their limits. From western Iran, hundreds of missiles and drones were launched simultaneously toward the heart of Israel. Tel Aviv, a city that has long been considered a symbol of economic strength and stability, became one of the main targets, surprising not only the number of projectiles fired, but also the speed and scale of the coordinated attacks. Radar signals were full in just a matter of minutes. Thousands of civilians rushed to shelters. What happened that night not only shook Israel, but also sent a sharp message to the world. This conflict has entered a new phase. Tensions between Israel and Iran are indeed not new, but the latest escalation began when Israel, with the tacit support of the United States and its allies, launched an air operation into a number of areas in Iran. Nuclear facilities, military headquarters, and strategic communication centers were targeted. A number of Iranian scientists and officials were reportedly also victims. The reason put forward was that Iran was suspected of accelerating the development of nuclear weapons, but until the attack was launched, there was no concrete evidence. Even the IAEA, the World Nuclear Agency, had not issued an official statement about the serious violations committed by Iran. In other words, this accusation did not stand on a strong foundation. Many observers called Israel's move a form of unilateral provocation and not an effort to prevent this attack. It was carried out without the approval of the international community. Tehran also called it open aggression and responded to it. It was their right to defend their sovereignty. More than 150 ballistic missiles, including Shahab-3 and Sejil, were launched from Iran toward Israel, plus about 100 kamikaze and reconnaissance drones, all aimed at various strategic targets. Tel Aviv, Jerusalem, the Negev military base and infrastructure in Ashdod and Beersheba. According to preliminary reports from the field, dozens of missiles managed to penetrate the Iron Dome defense and hit several cities. In Tel Aviv, smoke billowed from the industrial area and explosions were heard repeatedly in the southern districts of the city. Sirens wailed non-stop, and residents ran to bunkers. In the cities of Ashkelon and Nedavat, a number of buildings were destroyed, fire burned through residential areas, and ambulances and rescue teams milled about in the streets. Meanwhile, in Jerusalem, successive explosions and bright lights in the night sky showed just how intense the battle in the air was. Although most of the projectiles were intercepted, the very large and simultaneous volume of attacks really overwhelmed the defense system. The Israeli military itself admitted this was one of the most complex and coordinated attacks they had ever experienced. In an effort to respond to this attack, Israel deployed all its best air defense systems, from Iron Dome and David Sling to Arrow Trigger. Israel's allies, the United States, Britain, and France, also moved. They helped through cross-regional radar satellite detection and several interception actions at United States military bases in the Middle East. The Israeli government claimed that about 80 to 85% of the missiles were successful. This repelling certainly shows the effectiveness of their system, but the Iranian military stated otherwise. According to Tehran's official claim, dozens of ballistic missiles managed to hit the command center of military infrastructure to the vital industrial area in Tel Aviv. They even released videos and satellite images which they said showed real damage at several strategic points. A number of independent analysts did confirm that there was major damage in several city districts, but until now it has not been confirmed whether all of this was caused by direct missiles or fragments of projectiles destroyed in the air. What is clear is that the Israeli defense system no longer looks perfect. A layered and simultaneous attack like this managed to expose its gaps, and the world now realizes that even the most sophisticated technology can be paralyzed if pressed massively and suddenly. The UN Security Council will hold an emergency session soon. The United States urges Israel not to retaliate excessively, but insists that it supports Israel's right to defend itself. On the other hand, Russia and China have called for an immediate cessation of violence. Gulf countries such as Qatar and the United Arab Emirates have also expressed concern over the potential for the conflict to spread to their region. The US president holds an emergency meeting with intelligence and military chiefs. Meanwhile, humanitarian organizations are preparing for a potential new refugee crisis if the war escalates further. This attack proves one important thing. Iran now has the capability of long-range strikes with dangerous accuracy and volume. They are able to design complex attack schemes combining drones, missiles, and high-volume saturation enough to disrupt enemy defense systems. For Israel, although most of the missiles were successfully intercepted, the psychological effects and strategic losses are still felt, and in the future, the pressure will not only come from Iran, but also from Hezbollah in the north, or other Iranian proxy groups in Iraq and Syria. In other words, high-tech asymmetric warfare has begun. Iran has shown that it will not sit idly by when attacked, and Israel must now decide whether to retaliate more forcefully, or withdraw to the path of diplomacy. The world is holding its breath, hoping that the next step is not the next missile launch button, but the open door of the negotiating room. But in the Middle East, as it has often, the hope for peace too often depends on who shot last. This video is presented for educational and informational purposes based on facts and balanced analysis. We do not promote hate violence or hate speech against any group. This content respects YouTube's policy on hate speech, violent and provocative content, and misleading information, references, YouTube policies and related laws, YouTube community guidelines, Indonesian Electronic Information and Transactions Law, and the International Convention on Human Rights.